What is really at issue in this fight between Bezos and the American media, the publisher of the Enquirer?
Well, there are a few different things that are going on here. One is Bezos' contention initially that these photos, presuming there are, as described in his blog post, are his own copyrighted material and therefore no one can publish them. And that's sort of one separate issue. In general, Bezos would be a newsworthy figure. As you pointed out, he's the richest man in the world. Amazon is sometimes the most valuable company in the world. Sometimes it's number 2 or number 3, but it's right up there. So that makes him a newsworthy figure. That said, if these photos were taken in public, they're fair game. Then anyone can use them, including us or the National Enquirer, anybody else. If they were taken in private, some First Amendment lawyers have said that's a different issue. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. You'd be more hard-pressed to prove that they are newsworthy in and of themselves. But that's only one part of it. The other part is his claim that the National Enquirer, or AMI Media, the owner of the National Enquirer, has been engaging in what he calls blackmail or extortion, or certainly very transactional, based on these emails that he published on his blog post, that would say, we will not publish these photos if you do X, in this case, stop an investigation of us. And that kind of transactional nature of what you're willing to publish or not is definitely not, I would say, in the sort of the journalistic norm, though allegations of that kind of exchange have been alleged for some types of media before.
Alan, is AMI actually acting like any other journalistic outfit?
Not really. In some ways it is, and in some ways it isn't. When it asserts a privilege and the ability to publish these photos because Bezos is a newsworthy figure, in that respect it's in line with every other media, again, whether it's Bloomberg or the New York Times or the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, or any other media. They would all act in the same way, or at least make the same arguments. As I mentioned, it's unclear because if these are photos that were in a private setting, it's not clear based on some recent court rulings in the U.S. whether or not they're usable or not. But the thing that's really very different is their willingness to state in emails, these ones that Jeff Bezos published on his blog post, saying we will not publish if in exchange you stop your investigation of us and agree to publicly not disparage us, etc. That is quite different.
Does the National, Alan, have the right to publish the photos it claims to have of Bezos or not?
It's a good question. A few years ago, I think a majority of people probably would have said yes. Ever since the Hulk Hogan decision, which was a decision a couple of years back against a website called Gawker, which published sex tapes of Hulk Hogan, and was found that a court in Florida found that it didn't have the right actually to publish those sex tapes because the person had a right to privacy, and these were taken in a private setting, even though Hulk Hogan, as a former wrestler and movie actor, was a public figure. And so it's not actually clear whether or not they'd have the right to publish these photos. Again, it depends on how they were obtained and where they were taken.